Hello, and welcome to the Wedding Dish Podcast. Grab your fork and knife and take a seat at our table as we dish on all things weddings. You'll hear stories and tips from real couples and wedding pros about life, love, and entrepreneurship. Let's dish.
That's Sara Alapin, host of The Wedding Dish and CEO of Photos from the Harty and District Bliss.
And that is my amazing guest co-host today, newly married Taylor De La Fuente. And she is the owner of Tree Editorial, who specializes in copywriting for the wedding professionals. So thank you so much for being here, Taylor.
Thank you.
And let's go ahead and start. Let's dish. Today we are talking with Sahar Masarati, who is a super cool lady, extremely talented, and she is the owner of Sugar Alkymi, which we'll have you explain the background of that because it's not spelled the way you think. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you both, Sara and Taylor, for having me. What a pleasure and an honor. And so the dish about why I called it Sugar Alkymi, but I spelled it the way it is Alkymi. I think because I had a chemistry major and I wanted my name kind of have something with that background, and why I was obsessed with that mindset of bringing, the chemistry background behind it, because the taste and the all that ingredients playing, it was important for me. But alchemy was, written in English. The website was taken. So I was like, okay, how can I get this? And then it just hit me as I was talking to my sister about it. It's like, I really love this name. It's just, I don't want to give it up. And as we were talking, all of a sudden it just hit me. I grew up in Denmark, and all this love affair with pastries and sugar artistry and all that, it literally started from there. And alchemy is spelled Alky in Danish. And I was like, that's it. I want to give a gratitude to my upbringing in Denmark. I'm not Danish by blood, obviously, but that's how I got to it. So it was purely because the website was taken, and and I had to come up with a creative idea. And what better than giving thanks to my adopted heritage, as I call it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. I had no idea you grew up in Denmark. I did know you got the inspiration from the Danish word, but that's so cool. Denmark is one of my favorite places and also one of the last trips that I took.
Wow. Where did you go? Which cities did you visit?
We were in Copenhagen.
Awesome. That's where I went to university, and I grew the last part of my residency in Denmark. So it's a beautiful city, really beautiful. Yeah. I'm glad you visited there. So now you know a little bit about the background.
Yes. And since you just mentioned your residency, let's start from, what was your life prior to being a business owner?
Oh, that loaded question. I love it. Very different, but yet at the same time, very similar. I think I had the blessing by living in the Bay Area. I got kind of just sucked into the world of residential management by, I've always been working in corporate world here and there in real estate and finances, but it was in the middle of 2006, 2007. A friend of mine said, you know what, Sahar, it would be such a cool a job for you if you get into the residential management. And I'm like, how come? She said, it's just your personality fits it. And it was seriously by her recommendation and her hooking me up with the position that they needed. Later on, I found out she really needed the job. So she was just pushing. She was a great salesperson. And I was like, yeah. And it was an amazing experience because, I always say connecting the dots, it really kind of shaped me into who I am as a business owner, because that mentality and that mindset of working for a corporate America just define you as a different human being, in my opinion. Like the things that you experience as working for corporate America, it's very different than running your business, yet the fundamentals are required. So I feel like all the things that I was exposed to and doing the job, and I can say that I was very blessed to have a very lucrative position at the end, really working my way up from very starting to becoming, they called me the queen of lease ups, because I would be actually the manager who would take over the lease up project, which is a very niche project. It's a very niche position in that industry. And that's all I did. Like I managed 6 projects or 7, I think, toward the end of it, 7 projects from zero ground to leasing it up fully getting established, meaning you have your all the residences occupying to about 95% occupancy. And so I was known for that in the Bay Area, and I loved it. I loved the position, I loved the environment, but it was also it had also its own prices and costs, and it was affecting my mental health and my emotional health toward the end. Because of all the struggles that I was going through with everything that happens in corporate America. And as much as I love that part of my life because it guided me to be who I am, but I also felt the need that this was a time for me to shift. I'm very spiritual about this, because I always say I was meant to be for more. I was meant to do more. And I always at this point, I give credit to my current partner, because we had just met and he got a job offer. He was also in tech industry, and he is still. And so he got a job offer to start in California. And I literally took that as an opportunity to say, please take that. And please allow me to pursue this dream, which was, giving myself the position he was being offered was a year project. And so I really took advantage of that. And I think trusting my own gut feeling and trusting myself, which I don't think I would have ever saw that possibility had I not been with him, because I was so determined and being so driven in the position that I had. And because I had worked so hard into getting to where I was very committed to that, despite all the toxic environment that I was in for my own self well-being. But I loved it. And I think that's the biggest struggle most corporate people, whether I think you're a woman or a man, but mainly women, I think, at least in my case, it was a struggle to say no to that. It was a struggle to say no to a very well-paid position, a very luxurious lifestyle that I enjoyed having. And there's no shame in that. Like, we work for that. I work for that, and I still work for that. So the struggle that I personally experienced was, how can I maintain the lifestyle, the position that I have made for myself, but owning my own business? And it really hit me one night. I said, I work 14 to 17 hours every day, no weekends, every day. Yeah, I get compensated very well, but when you divide the hours, if that's what it is, and it was that moment that if I work that much for another party, what if I work that much for myself? Would I be able to achieve the same results? Some people may say I was a little bit naive, and I think I had people laughing at me because, I gave up a very lucrative position to pursue something that we all know that there is no necessarily success strategy behind it. And especially I think the environment I grew up or was and all that. So a lot of the, I think, negative mindset from the upbringing and all the cultural thing, and also being in a society that art is not necessarily, at least with my, in my background, art wasn't necessarily something you pursue as a career. It's something you did as a hobby, And the rebel that I am, I was trying to prove that no, you can. This is the land of opportunity. I'm an example and proof of the American dream. I came to America because I wanted to pursue that dream. So this is it. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not, this is my opportunity. And okay, what if I did did take a leap? And what if I did pursue that and it didn't work out? There's always the lease up position for me. I can always go back to that. And so that was the whole inspiration behind it. And I do openly thank my partner for it, because he was the rock that I needed at that point to support my mindset, to support my gut feeling, and to support me trusting myself. Of course, I did it, but I think where I was in life, I owe it to him. And I always say, people come into your life for purposes and reasons, and hopefully I'll be with him for the rest of my life. But that is definitely one of the reasons why I met him, because he allowed me to pursue my dream. And I'm very thankful for that I did. And I have not looked back. Obviously, I'm not in lease ups anymore. So, although it was a great community, I'm still in, friends with a lot of my coworkers and, all my bosses and all that. So, so I really appreciate the experience, as harsh as it was on me, but I really appreciate, because it groomed me to who I am and take my little business really seriously. I think it made me where I am for that. So I owe that. I owe that experience to my current success for sure. So,
wow. I resonate with 5 million things that you just said, Sar. And I think every entrepreneur listening gets that. There are some good things. There are some bad things about the corporate career. It can be soul sucking and draining, but it also it gives you so much. It teaches you those lessons that you would have had to learn for yourself the hard way if you just, started your own business and never had worked for anybody else before. And then, it gives you the financial freedom. And some people are lucky enough to have a partner be the support system that helps them launch their business. And some people do it themselves. And that corporate job is their support system. It's your corporate, it's your income from your corporate job that's floating your dream. So, yes.
Yeah, and you nailed it. I think, so with me, my personality, I'm one of those people, I say that I cannot multitask 2 different jobs. I cannot be a working mom and then do this on this. I can't do side hustles necessarily fully. Yeah. So I either have to do this and that. And I think once I tell you the journey of how it became where I am, it makes sense. For me, I would have never been I, as a person, could not been able to do that in the short term that I was able to do if I had remained my 9-to-5 job, which I actually would have had at this point, had I not had the mental, at least, support and the financial support and the emotional support, which you need. Let's not joke about it. It's I'm very realistic. I'm very transparent. It's not all that oh, I decided to do this, so here it is, and it's all dreamy. No, it's really hard work. And so let's not joke around about that, and so giving up a security blanket, financial security blanket, is not a joke. It's a serious matter. So yeah, I really appreciate that part. So, and you nailed it, Taylor. Yeah, it's a lot of people cannot take that leap of faith because of that, and I respect that. I would have been there too. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I never worked in corporate, but I was a teacher. So
you were, I was going to say that is corporate. It's its own version of corporate. The education system is its own version. And Sara has her own horror stories from her times doing that. I'm sure good things and bad things.
Yeah, no, working in school, it's no, are you kidding me? That tops corporate.
It's a very different beast. I can't really relate to what my husband Philippe does on a regular basis because it's so far from what I've ever experienced.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I agree completely.
Okay, so you've gotten out of the corporate spider web, and you're now living your best life, doing your artistry, which is baking, right?
It's kind of a combination, and I love it how you say the dream. But let me draw the picture. It was far from a dream. So that's where the transparency comes. That's where that aha moment, Sahar, what did you get yourself in? And what? Like, no, let me tell you, Taylor, and this is where I think it, if you're not meant to be an entrepreneur, this is a great example. If you pursue a dream, don't fool yourself if you really want to be. So this is where I was going. I took the idea of I want to turn my hobby, and this is exactly what it was, because I knew I'm not going to have a side hustle necessarily to be able to make an income. So for the past 2 decades, this was a hobby. This was a refuge. Every single opportunity I would get, I would go take classes, courses here and there, have fun creating purely for joy, right? So the idea in 2017 was, well, if I love doing this so much as a hobby, why can I not turn it into a lucrative business? That was the mindset. And that's where I think the reality hit me. And I was for 6 months really, really struggling. And let me tell you what the struggles was. Even though as open-minded I was, even though as I would say experienced I was, even though as much of a planner I was, even though I wrote a business plan, even though I had all kind of my checks in order, but here's the reality. Once you start something, you really experience the issues, because theory is one thing, practicality is another thing. And that's, I think it's like, imagine you go to, like, I studied medicine. I went to med school, but I dropped out when I came to US. So imagine you go to med school and then you learn all the theories, but then once you go to your residency at the hospital, you realize you have no clue what the heck you're doing. And all the learning was nothing, right? So I literally experienced that. All the things that I thought, because I had my corporate background and I knew about how to run a business with other people's money, I thought, okay, now I can do it on my own. Well, the reality hit for me, at least in my case, it wasn't necessarily my experience, because I knew how to bake, which was one thing, and I knew how to decorate, which was the other main thing. But here was the problem. At the moment that I had decided to take a leap and pursue this hobby as a business, I still didn't have a voice. I still didn't know what my expertise is. I still didn't have a vision of my thing, my niche. But one thing I knew for sure was, I definitely did not want to be a copycat or competing with anybody or all those things, right? I didn't want. And so these were the struggles. I wanted to become unique. That was my goal from the day one. I wanted to be somebody that is me. I wanted to be able to serve the kind of clients that I had and not to struggle financially. So that was the number 2. And I also wanted it to have a purpose. I wanted it to bring something with my art. So those were the motivational factors. Now, the struggles that I had is I was nobody. Nobody knew me in the market. So when I would go outreach for clients, I would hit the thing, well, who are you, right? The second thing was I was new into the area. Like, at least in the Bay Area, I had connections. I had people. I could at least start with, pushing my friends to buy things from me. And let me tell you, this was a blessing, and it was a blessing in a disguise, because it allowed me to create the marketing strategies that I literally have trademarked it. It's my thing. Nobody has ever done that in our wedding industry. It's very unique to me. And that's what I'm like teaching to my students as well. It's like, because of that experience, because of I struggled not being able to book clients the first 6 months to a year of my shift, that allowed me to come up with a marketing strategy that nobody teaches you of when you're shifting from a hobby to a business person to a paid gig. How do you do that? Yeah, you can take marketing classes. You can apply all the things that, like a textbook offers you. But when you're literally doing it, so it's not theory, you're practicing, you're scheduling appointments with your event planners or your client, you realize you're not booking, and it really affects your self-esteem, because you know your worth, you know who you are as an artist. Now, luckily, I personally never experienced imposter syndrome, that has its own reasons why I never developed that, because I was true and authentic. Now, having said that, that being true and authentic, I never fake it till I make it. I never did that. What should I call it? That had a negative effect, because I was very transparent. I was like, yeah, I'm new. And so because of the line of the work that I was doing, I wasn't like BSing people of anything. That didn't get me the gigs that I wanted, right? So I had to come up with the marketing strategy to have somebody to trust me with their events and with their luxury, because my market and my target audience is very niche. It's luxury to the highest you can have, right? I'm custom making every single sugar flower. I'm baking everything organically from scratch. It's very much like couture to the max. Nothing is pre-made, nothing, like even from even my baking ingredients are freshly purchased for each set. So everything is so custom, so that you need testimonials, and you need true testimonials. Yeah, I could have faked it. I could have had my friends buy things and then have it, but I didn't. I was very transparent, and that had a negative effect on my business, in a sense that nobody trusted. Maybe because the area that I was, maybe because LA is so saturated with fame and all that. So it was a struggle. And it really put me in a position, is like, what the heck did I do? Why did I say no to a good 6-figure lucrative business? Let me go back. And I think it was really at that moment, again, I thank my partner and I thank my support system, where my friends and my family members, my cousin, my best friends, my partner, and me also working on myself, working on my business mindset that said, Sahar, you're here for a reason. Don't forget your whys. Don't forget your whys. So my whys kept me going. My whys kept me at that moment, that right when you want to give up, you don't give up. That's when you see success. And it was difficult, Taylor. It wasn't like all peachy. It wasn't like the dream that
yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the problem is I always call the Instagram feed, it's so pretty that people don't see. Yeah, Instagram feed is part of the reality. It does have the luxurious side. It does have the dreamy part, no doubt. And I am shooting for that every single day. However, what people need to understand, and this is what I tried so hard during all this time to say, people may say, yeah, she acquired such a fame and reputation and all that in 2 years. Wow, no, I worked 2 decades and I worked really hard during this time to get to where I am. So no, it didn't come overnight, and it wasn't all that, I cried many nights, and I, had a lot of struggles, and my savings got depleted. I acquired debt for it, even though I had a very, supportive background. So let's not kid ourselves. And that's the authenticity and the reality that you don't hear. At least in my case, I did not hear it. And one of the things I promised myself is, beside teaching techniques and theories, no, let's teach really people the truth and the honest truth of how can you make it, because there's struggle. And because of that, because I had these struggles, guess what? I was able to survive during the toughest times of all of our lives. I survived during COVID. Yeah, I did not make as much as money as I would have had with events, but I really survived, and I was still making money. And that to me is really persistence in believing in yourself and doing the hard work, and not get demotivated when you have struggles. You're always going to have struggles. You're always going to have issues. You're always going to have deadlines. You're always going to have mishaps. You're always going to have those. But if you don't give up, and I think during this whole journey, what I taught myself is, become a better human as a person in order to survive issues. So I think becoming a self-made entrepreneur, you become your own your own boss, your own critic, your own cheerleader, and you have to develop really strong mindset. And people don't necessarily talk about that. They don't talk about behind the scene of, and I spend a lot of my energy and time and money on, receiving the right mentorship and the wrong mentorship. Let's not forget about that. I spend money on the wrong things as well. And that taught me a good lesson. And so anything that I've done so far, whether it worked or it not work, I take it as a blessing, because I'm one of those people, if it didn't work, I learn from it. I don't take a victim position. I learn from it. I look at it as a blessing. And if it worked, I repeat it. I do the same thing. If it works, I repeat it. If it doesn't, how can I shift it? So a little bit behind the scene, which a lot of people unfortunately don't talk. And so that was part of the dream that is a little bit of a nightmare, but I had to have the nightmare in order to have the dream.
I love it. That's such an important point. That's such an important advice. And that not forgetting your why is so important for everything, including planning a wedding or running a business or being in a relationship with friends, family, and significant others. It's important across the board.
Very much. Yeah.
Well, we are going to take a super fast break on the wedding dish, and we will be right back. And we are back on the wedding dish. I am Sara Alapin, and today I'm joined by my guest co-host, Taylor De La Fuente, the owner of Tree Editorial, and our amazing guest, Sahar Masarati, who is the, I'm going to call you an artist, but also CEO behind Sugar Alkymi. Thank you both so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. That's a lovely introduction. I'll take it in a heartbeat anytime.
I love it. Well, one of the things that I noticed most about Sugar Alkymi and what you do as an artist is that you're essentially converting stories into edible art. What does that process look like?
Beautiful question, and thank you for actually noticing that and mentioning it. As I said before, for me, it was very important that I have a niche, like my signature. And I always say, like, when you start in any art, in any form, in any medium, you're honored to borrow from your past, the past people that have done the work. And so I definitely did, and especially because I had some amazing mentors along the 2 decades that I was working on my craft, I wanted it to make sure that I'm not necessarily, I'm allergic to this word, copying or literally taking, and you do get influence. There's no doubt about it. You do get influenced by your mentors. But my thing was, I want it to be niche. So if somebody looks at my work, what do I represent? Now, I'm limited because, let's face it, techniques are techniques, and it's nobody's, let's say, innovation anymore. It has been existed. So as an artist, it was very important for me. Like, I remember, and I may be paraphrasing it, Pablo Picasso's art is theft. So it is. You can't deny it, right? So it was one of my important whys is like, okay, how do I create my niche? So no matter what I do, I can stand unique to mine, and how can I differentiate my work from anybody else? That was super important. And I think that's one of the things that even in my mentorship, I am so adamant. Like, that is my main thing to teach and to do and to develop constantly. So I came to this idea, okay, how can I be so unique every time? And it came to me, it's converting people's story. And that became my signature look. My signature look is my mission, that is my motto. And if you do that, nobody can copy you. Yeah, they may copy a cake, but then it doesn't mean anything, right? So for me, there were 2 things. I don't want to copy others, and I don't appreciate people copying me. It doesn't serve people. So this is why none of my cakes are the same. Everyone is very different, because my goal was, and here's the thing, I'm in wedding industry. What is wedding? Wedding is uniting two people, a couple. And so what is more important than their story? That is so unique. Nobody has ever done that, at least to my understanding or knowledge. And if it was, I don't know. But I felt like I'm the first person putting it into the decorative of the edible art. Like, think about it. The cake is the first thing as a sweet gesture. They're feeding each other per se. Like traditionally, once you become a union, that's what you feed each other. So imagine you are creating a romantic look for their nuptials with an edible art that represents them and them only. So I have a very, very unique consultation, and I'm very proud of the way I do my consultations because it's very unique to that individual time and party. So I meet with the couples, and I literally take inspiration from everything that I ask them to bring either or send me or what have you. So I use all those cues. I use all those things that I request from them and for their journey and their story. And then only with those things that they provide to me, I convert it to the edible cake. And that's basically my style of creating each cake. And so without those points, without those dots, I won't be able to. Now, whether I do an editorial or whether I do a wedding or whether I do a celebration, no matter what I do, this is my signature. This is my look. This is what I do. Now, if you ask me, well, are my technique to me, no, my techniques are everybody's technique, right? But the way I manipulate the techniques and shape it into like storytelling with my art is what it is. It's the same way that if you look at any other artist, they use other mediums. You can say, okay, these are impressionists, or these are romanticism, or whatever it is, or this is made with watercolor, or this is made with oil, so we all use the same medium and the same techniques, but we all have each different look. And that was my vision behind the storytelling. And because my whole journey was affected by my own personal story, I had to turn my whole Sugar Alkymi world into that. So I felt that's very unique to me. That's very unique to me as my artistic voice. And then yet I'm not copying anybody. And those were important. So I use all the important factors to become who I am and be unique. And I think when you set yourself apart with something that is authentic to yourself, that's where the growth happens. And that's very important in, running your business. So you're never going to run out of ideas and inspiration when you're authentic. If you're copying, you are the slave of what other people's bring to you. But if you're authentic, you're only a slave to yourself, and the possibilities are endless. So
absolutely. And when you're copying, you're never going to do it as well as whoever you're copying.
No. Good luck with that one.
It does, I think that is such an important message to hear in the catering and the baking world, though, because I feel like that is the number one example that I think of in my head as somebody copying somebody else. Obviously, you're talking about professionals copying other professionals, but I think a lot of times that happens because the couple starts that. The couple says, I found this picture online. I saw this on Pinterest. My sister had that. My friend had that. Can you do that for me? And that's where it starts. And there's so much pressure for the business owner to copy somebody else because the client is literally saying, I will pay you to copy somebody else. That's hard to say no to. So,
well, is it hard, or is it your responsibility to educate who your client is? You think I don't get that? I used to get that. It was my responsibility to educate and say, well, that's lovely. That's very great that you like that. Tell me, what is it about that cake that you like? But this is how I do it. Now, to me, if you have the mindset that you're working together, it's not about being cocky about your work or like say, you think you're better than anybody. It's not about that. It's about you being so you have to love your work before other people gonna appreciate and respect your work. So if you represent yourself the way you are setting boundaries for your artistic vision, then people gonna respect that. As of now, I never have anybody coming with an image. And if they do, that means they don't know who I am. So,
yeah,
and
because you set the boundaries for that, so they know.
Exactly. And you nailed it, Taylor. It is the customer, and there's nothing wrong with that. They don't know any better. This is so unique, you know. And inspirations are good. It's good to know why they like that. That is part of their stories, right? Why is it that they like that cake? What is it about that picture that is resonating with them? And that's your job to find that out and convert it. So,
yeah. Wow. You are a wealth of knowledge, Sahar. But more importantly, confidence is the word that comes to mind. Like you just stand on your own 2 feet and you know, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. I don't really care what other people are about. And I'm wondering if others could learn that from you. I know you mentioned like you have courses, and I wasn't sure if those were courses on learning how to decorate cakes or if they were courses on learning how to be a business owner, or both.
Beautifully asked. So part of my promise that I gave to myself is like, when I make this good, the way I want my business to thrive, I want to become the voice for others. And of course, what is my expertise is my cake decorations. But as I mentioned, behind every entrepreneur that made it, there is a mindset, and there's a business mindset, right? Because we're running business. So my goal was, not only I'm going to teach the curriculum of how to learn the techniques, but you also need to learn the business side of it. And it starts with the mindset. So I just literally launched my very first course, which is called Sugar Florer's Poetry Making and Art Mastery, which it's, again, very unique. There are tons of other courses out there in the market. There are so many other brilliant courses out there. I had to be different. And my niche, again, for my courses, beside all the theory and techniques, you need to know behind the scene. You need to know about business and all that. So it's the expansion of how to become. So it's literally for people that truly want to make money with their art in a professional setup. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have your own bakery. I don't have a bakery. I have, my own home studio, right? So the way I looked at it is, how can I bring this knowledge that took me so many years and hardship as well? How can I streamline it so other can take benefit? So it's more like a guide with explanation, like literally how you and I are talking. I have the courses developed that way. And it's also a learning process for me, because remember, 2019, I started this whole idea with flirting with workshops in person. And I'm very much of an in-person person. Like, I love hugs and getting together. Again, I work in this event industry, so I gotta be that way. I'm very extrovert. I'm very extrovert. And I know a lot of artists are introvert. So that may be also an issue. So I have the upper hand, that I love being among people and thrive with that. And going into this virtual world wasn't, but guess what? I shifted my mindset. I figured virtual workshop is the best thing that I can offer till we shift back. So I started with doing that. It's both. It's technical as well as a very unique approach to business mindset and your own personal mindset. It starts with who you are, being aligned with who you are, loving yourself, caring for yourself before you can care for others. And that's where it started. So we'll see how far I can take that mentorship, but I'm enjoying it.
I love that. That's lovely.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you.
That was amazing. So much information packed into this episode. Across the board. So awesome. I really appreciate everything that you shared here today on the wedding dish, Sahar. That's just so generous, so lovely.
Thank you. You have to be, if you become a mentor, you have to be. You can't be stingy with your knowledge and experience.
True.
You shouldn't.
So true.
I receive more, by the way, by giving. I do. I gain so much. So I'm a little bit selfish about that too, but I love it.
That's amazing. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Wedding Dish podcast. And thank you, Sahar, for being here today. You are so lovely, so wonderful, so talented. And I really appreciate you sharing your business expertise with us. And I also want to thank Taylor de la Fuente, her new last name, because she just got married, and I'm getting used to not saying her old last name.
You and me both.
I still say my old last name. I've been married for almost 10 years. I still say my maiden name all the time. And then I did it the other day. I was like, this is Sara Hartenstein. I was like, nope. Not Sara Hartenstein anymore.
Not my name.
You may stir some issues there, sweetie. Well, I am so grateful to be part of this. You guys were just both so lovely, and I'm so honored and blessed to share my experience. This is golden, especially this time. We need some positivity. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Sahar,
thank you.
I need to follow you on Instagram right now. So are you on Instagram? What is your handle? Tell me all the details.
Yeah, I think my obsession is definitely Instagram because it's such a visual.
Yes.
It's such a visual. And again, I don't have a VA. It's all mama here. So it's at Sugar Alkymi. It's sugar like SUGAR. And then alchemy is ALKYMI. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, if you see LT Editorial following you, that's
Absolutely.
me. So we can be internet friends.
Yes. Anytime, I'll take that till we can see each other in person.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I can't wait for that.
Well, thank you, lovely ladies. This was fun.
Yes,
I hope we dished well. I hope we dished well.
Yes, we did. We definitely dished well. We have a full table of empty plates at this point.
Good one.
Well,
Sara, where can we get the show notes for today?
Yes. So you can find the show notes on the weddingdishpodcast.com. You can also find the transcript there. You can apply to be a guest speaker. You can donate to our Patreon there and get all kinds of juicy wedding tips and tricks from couples and wedding pros alike.
Yeah, and don't forget to tune in next week, of course, where Sara will be back dishing with another awesome guest. And of course, rating and reviewing us on your favorite podcasting app while you're listening.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.